Hello, I'm here with Rebecca and Emily Bose and Meghan Welfer, and we're going to play a game now called Conducted Story. I almost said convoluted story. Although this can get convoluted, depending. Uh, anyway, how Conducted Story works is Rebecca, Emily, and Meghan are going to be telling the story. I'm going to be conducting them. They're going to be telling it one person at a time, and I get to decide who that one person is at any given moment. And yes, I will go mad with power. So anyway, first, to come up with a story, we need a good title. So first, I need an occupation.
Baker.
Baker. And now a geographical location.
Himalayas.
Himalayas. I like it. And so, the story that Rebecca, Meghan, and Emily will be regaling you with tonight is The Baker Who Stole the Himalayas. Starting with Rebecca.
Starts out with a man getting off the plane with his baking tools in hand, and he said to himself, Jeffrey, you're ready for this.
He took one handful of flour, one handful of yeast, and started walking through the airport.
As he looked around, he saw TSA giving him odd glances and women holding their children closer to themselves as he walked past because
bakers were not welcome here, not in this part of the Himalayas. And he
knew this. He knew it coming into this. He would not be welcome, and it would not be easy. But he had a dream. He had a dream to be a baker.
Be a baker who made national news for doing something completely absurd, like
bringing blueberry pie to the Himalayas, and not just any blueberry pie, the best blueberry pie that the Himalayans
had ever seen. Now, of course, the Himalayans had seen many types of blueberry pie. I mean, they live in the Himalayas. Why wouldn't they see blueberry pie?
But because they're so they'd reject every baker who comes into their midst. They've never seen one that's been baked professionally. So to be perfectly honest, the bar was set relatively low.
So the baker went to his baking station, and this was not an official baking station. He decided to make his home an abandoned building that for some reason existed in the Himalayan mountains.
He started by mixing his dough. He wedged it, he rolled it out thin as he could, and placed it in a pan.
As he placed it in the pan, he glanced out the window and looked out over the mountains and thought, wow.
This is the time to break out into the introduction song to Waitress. So he opened the window
and started by shouting, "Sugar!"
Now, he realized halfway through, or at least after the first line, that he's never seen Waitress. He doesn't actually know what those words are. He doesn't know how to sing that song.
But then, for some reason, another baker appeared and yelled out, "Butter!"
Our baker, who we'd first seen walking through the airport, looked at this new baker friend. He pointed like he knew him and said,
"I'm just like you." And the baker responds, "You're
nothing like me, because I will take you
down with my knowledge of how to bake the best
blueberry pie that you have ever tasted."
And he said, "My name is Baker number 2. And
you killed my father. Prepare to pie."
And suddenly, baker number 1, who we had seen walking through the airport, took out his rolling pin. He held it up like he was going to hit baker number 2.
And he yelled, "You have nothing against baker number 1 from the airport."
So, baker number 2 grabs the pin out of baker
number 1, says, "Wait, try this." Throws a blueberry pie
directly at his crotch. It is fresh.
It is hot. And
It is very unpleasant.
And yet somewhat steamy.
The baker number 2 doesn't really know how to respond to this at first. He has to go home and think.
He waddles home, blueberries dripping from his pant legs with every step.
But then he realizes what he has to do. He has to go back and
Steal the mountains directly from underneath baker number 1. There's got to be a way to do it. He just doesn't know what it is yet. Maybe he just needs to dig long enough.
He takes his special grandmother's baking spoon that she
hand-carved from the tree of the highest peak
of the mountain. But then baker number 1
realizes what's going on, and he knows that he has to stop.
baker number 2. So he decides to go
Down to the mountain to meet baker number 2 and say,
we need to make love, and we need to
make sure there's as much hot, feisty blueberry pie as we can possibly
get. Baker number 1 slowly takes baker number 2's hand and leads him up the mountain.
And then they realized that this story was rated G, so they held hands while walking in the sunset.
It's pretty lewd, we know, but bear with us. So as they hold hands, walk into the sunset together, baker 2, his intentions still aren't perfectly clear to baker number 1. For you see, baker number 2 has not given up.
Baker number 2 has decided that walking into the sunset is too hard.
Of a task for him because he doesn't know how to
walk. He just limps everywhere. That steamy blueberry pie really messed up his legs.
The poor thing will probably be physically debilitated for the rest of his life, and he needs to get his
legs fixed. So he tells baker number 1,
you get my legs fixed right now or there will be no walking for me.
For the rest of my life, and I will make sure there's no walking for you either, my good.
My good lover. And baker number 1 said, you know what? I love you.
I need you. If it takes scooping these mountains out till it's flat,
then I will make it as flat as this earth we live on.
And you know what? I'll do it for you, lover. And so they began to
trek back to baker number 1's house.
On the top of the highest peak of the Himalayas, probably.
It was not very fun for baker number 2.
But eventually they made it back, and you have never seen such
love and compassion as they were looking at spoons
that they were going to use to dig into the foundation of the mountain itself and take
that mountain down. And you know what they were going to do with
what they were going to do with that mountain? They were going to throw it directly
onto the Appalachian Mountains, because the Appalachian Mountains
were the shittiest mountains of all, and they wanted to stick it to them.
Appalachia's had it too good for too long. Let's take them out.
With newfound vigor and a fire burning in their hearts, they took their spoons to the height of the mountains.
And then they succeeded. They got all of the Himalayan mountains onto the Appalachian Mountains, and afterwards they celebrated.
They celebrated by, again, holding hands. But this time, baker number 1 carried baker number 2, so the hand-holding was a little awkward, but it worked out just fine.
They walked into the sunset, clean and happy and in love as two men can be after they have shipped a whole mountain range, including the highest mountain in the world, across the sea, across the ocean, and put it in the United States. And they were happy. The end.
You had never seen such sensual eat of blueberry pie.
Our immediate apologies to anyone who sees this, who's watching in Appalachia.
I personally apologize for nothing.
I really apologize.
You guys have had it too long. You guys need some help. You guys need a little more hardship in your life.
You know what? You just need a taller mountain. Just get a bigger mountain.
They get fucking taller. Yeah, exactly.
Just get a bigger mountain. Just do it.
Fuck you. Make
no
the mountain
balls.
bigger.